To relook at Agnes Pelton, who was born in 1881. And she was born in Stuttgart, Germany, to her American parents, William and Florence Pelton. And she lived in Rotterdam until she was 7 years old. And then her and her mother moved to Brooklyn. Um, and then her parents were estranged by then. She never really, I guess, spent much time with her father. He died when she was 9 years old, um, of a morphine overdose. He had a lot of kind of neurotic issues. So his nervous system was kind of haywire. Uh, and then, so she grew up basically in Brooklyn after that. Her mother was a music teacher. She opened a school in Brooklyn and she gave lessons in French and German. And Agnes, because she had poor health as a teenager and a child, grew up, she was homeschooled and she uh, was very inward, I guess, from a young age. And when she was 19, she had some kind of nervous breakdown in a way, or she was couldn't go to school for a while. They say she might have been anorexic. She just had this, kind of a frail constitution. So her mother was very spiritual. And this was the beginning of her search. And when she was in 1921, Agnes moved to Long Island and she lived in a windmill, one of the last surviving windmills out there. So she was kind of out there by herself. And that's when she started seriously doing the spiritual artwork, because she was already into theosophy and also some other stuff like these healing modalities that had to do with mysticism. And Mabel Dodge, who ended up being Mabel Dodge Lujan out in New Mexico, she was in New York and at that time, and she knew Agnes. And she used to have salons there, and they would get together, and it was all about spiritual stuff. So that's interesting. She ended up going to visit Taos in 1919. Uh, and then eventually, after 10 years in Long Island, she moved to Cathedral City, California in 1931. And that was because she was drawn to these theosophical like communities that were out there in Southern California and in, the desert. She really loved the desert. She loved the vibe. And that was inspiring for her. So she moved out there. And then she was also, and when Madame Blavatsky died, who was the originator of theosophy, she got involved in Agni Yoga, which was developed by Nicholas Roerich and his wife Helena. That had to do with the divine fire, merging with the divine fire. They had the same spiritual connections as Madame Blavatsky, Master Moria, who was their guru. I don't know if he was a real person or whether he was just an astral person. Um, the evolution of planetary consciousness is a pressing necessity and can be attained through individual striving. That was Madame Blavatsky. So it was like the New Age people, right?
Yeah.
And it was really, that's what they were about. They were about this new coming of spirituality to change the whole world. She says, I was very much inclined to melancholy and tears, which was probably aggravated by being an only child in a household of deeply religious and perhaps unnecessarily serious people. That was she about her youth. And then she got into astrology and she was into alchemy. She was really curious about all these different spiritual modalities. She wasn't really religious. At least that's what the woman was saying in the talk. She called her a spiritual modernist. So she was using the all the ideas of modernism that were in the air at that time, but she was making it spiritual, um, as opposed to like George O'Keeffe was more about just, you know, the, I mean, she was spiritual too, but in a different way. But it was more of the modernist ideas of abstraction and simplicity. Annie Besant took over the Theosophical Society when Blavatsky died, and she wrote the book called Thought Forms. We did a little show on that.
Yeah.
So she was a big influence. That book was a big influence. I guess that's it. That's enough for now. We can go look. Here she is as a young woman. There's not that many pictures of her. So I didn't get the date on this, but this has got to be an early one. And she had these two styles going when she was young. One was these people, like spiritual people in these landscapes. And it was kind of like Arthur B. Davies was doing similar stuff. She was into that. This is really beautiful, I think. Um,
Yeah.
and then, so this is the one that she got in to the Armory show, uh, which was a big deal. But there, there were apparently a lot of women in the Armory show. But this is of that genre of work of these kind of spirit people. And then she 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 had a break with this style, um, which is kind of interesting. So
Oh, wow.
this is more moving into the more mature style, but there's still a person there. And then she just got rid of the people. She she felt like there was something not real about the fantasy pictures, that she wanted to make them completely about spiritual ideas. And so that's where she went. But this was a room decoration because for a while there, she was advertising as a, a decorator. Um, she was she couldn't sell her spiritual paintings very much, so she did commission work. Um, this is pretty incredible.
Yeah. Can you go closer to those yellow things? Oh, they're flowers.
Yeah, I mean her skill at this by this time was pretty amazing. And here's
Really?
another earlier one where you can see where this is nowhere as refined as where we get in a couple more years. But you can see where she's going. Ray Serene and Ray. So here's the Ray. And the Ray was a big like archetype within the theosophical uh, thing. And it was like the divine light. And I don't know what else it symbolized. This is
Mm.
all 1 year later. She's already on her path that she continued on from this point on, this type of work. And apparently she would get kind of downloads about these things and do drawings and then do the paintings. Um, but they all had a lot of ideas behind them, stuff that she was reading, uh,
Wow. Yeah.
quotations.
Love this one.
Yeah.
This one, what I love is not only the light, but it's like it could be so many different things. It looks like there's a face in that oval, and it's just
Right.
leads to so much imagination, is what I love.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like this, I read this bottom part is like the earthly domain, and then what's interesting is like the light is coming from above, but also like from below,
Yeah.
and it's kind of a yin yang kind of thing going on
Oh,
there.
oh yeah.
Uh, and then these colors are just unbelievable.
Yeah. Huh. And what kind of paint is that?
Oil,
Oh,
she only used oil.
uh-huh.
Um,
Oh, wow.
the circle symbolizes infinity. That's one aspect of it for those Theosophist people. Um, yeah, she was completely devoted to bringing these spiritual ideas into the work and letting that be the whole, you know, um, thing behind her work. It says here, thought forms are natural to the astral or mental planes and represent spiritual reality. That's from Annie Besant's book. Um, this leads to pictorial art which has no relation to external reality, rendering the depiction of natural forms irrelevant. An art non-objective, pure, without subject or narrative, but capable of affecting spectators by conveying thought and feeling via forms. So the star, I think,
Oh,
generally speaking, it was Venus, and
oh.
Venus represents enlightenment. Again, I'm speaking about their view.
Right.
Hmm.
I don't know. I mean, this is very much like a lingam shape, which is Eastern, Hindu. And, Theosophy drew from all kinds of different mystical sources,
Yeah.
Hinduism, Buddhism, but others too, even Kabbalah, all kinds of different sources. Um, Here is Madame Blavatsky, who started Theosophy in 1875. And Kandinsky was into it. So many people we've looked at
Oh,
because they were offering an alternative to, the Christianity of the time that people thought was part of this whole insane uh, culture that was making wars. And it was just people were freaked out, basically, from the
uh-huh.
turn of the century or even before. And we're looking for alternatives because talking about the rate of change, the rate of change was so fast, people couldn't handle it even back then. I mean, it's probably worse now, but there's Annie Besant and Krishnamurti, and
Wow.
she adopted him as her son,
All right.
and then she took over the society. But she was a very interesting woman. She was even before she got involved with the Theosophical Society. She was famous speaker in England, and she was a woman's rights advocate. She
Wow.
was an advocate for birth control. She was an advocate for, um, all kinds of progressive ideas, and she was a great speaker. So she was a big um, feather in the cap of the Theosophical Society.
Mm. Do you know anything about that one?
But this one,
About that blue form?
I don't. It looks like a veil or could be wing-like things. I mean, I don't know how. I don't know if everything had a specific meaning or not, but
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, that's like that one from the beginning more.
this one's kind of different because, to me, at least, for the angular shapes that are mixing with the curves, and it's it is amazing, like ecstasy.
Um,
Wow.
And the dark forms at the bottom leave me puzzled a bit.
Yeah,
My mind
I
doesn't know what
think,
to do with those.
yeah, well, the color was very important. I'm guessing that if my memory serves me right, that was I don't I don't know, I shouldn't say like the dark versus the light.
Mm,
There's always going to be that darkness
sure.
with the light.
Hmm. Huh.
ooh,
Hmm.
that reminds me more of like the Waldorf art world.
Yeah, I see that. Hmm.
Yeah. I wonder
So
if that's where that came from, where Steiner got, Steiner and Rohr kind of, they got their inspiration from this kind of thing, maybe partly.
yeah, I'm sure she was into Steiner also. Um, but
He
what
was, I'm sorry, he wasn't, because he was connected, he doesn't admit it all the time, but he was connected to Theosophy originally. And then he kind
originally,
of, yeah, he just, I don't know, he was kind of a weird character as far as crediting
but
his.
what, what, I think is interesting is that these people who embraced theosophy and Steiner and all that. What's a basic premise of all that is that the purpose of life is spiritual liberation. That's a pretty dramatic difference
Oh, uh-huh.
than what generally uh, regular religion or uh, you know Ju Judeo-Christianity and all that, they don't really go there. And then um, it's also very different from the secular view. And the
Uh-huh.
secular view is what dominated the art world. So again, this
Oh,
is where it diverges. The secular people don't want people like with that premise because that's not what they believe. They're materialists. And as a materialist, you want what makes your purpose in life is to get all you can get, basically. So that's a little bit simplistic, but now here, these are all chronological, and I don't know if this was something she was doing for the marketplace. Probably she was doing this to sell to tourists. She was
huh.
also
So
doing
different.
a she was also doing a lot of portraiture all through her life.
Wow.
And she did that to make a living.
Wow.
I remember this piece, because I like pathways.
Oh,
What
yeah.
really strikes me is she's saying something with the stiffness and perfection of the yucca. Plants don't look like that, right? I mean, yes, yucca is tall and blooms that way, but look how everything is so stick straight
Yep,
and no variations and
yep.
no, it's like she's got it's not nature. Right?
Yeah,
She's
she's
got a point to make here, which I'm not sure what it is.
that's a very astute point. Uh, and I think it is deliberate, like you say. It makes it more um surreal in a
It
sense.
does. It's like a fantasy. I was just saying, it looks like a someplace
Yeah,
on another planet. It has has a otherworldly look
yeah,
to it because of the
yeah,
way the yuccas
yeah,
are drawn. And
yeah,
she did all this shading and all this realism, and but then those stalks of the yucca are like needles.
yeah. And that
That's
one's
not
going
like
up like 30, 40 feet. Like
Oh, yeah.
it's
And the way
kind of
they're
deadly.
placed too, that is there. It's not random. There's a real order to how those are arranged.
Yeah.
There might even
Desert,
be there might be a number, even if you were to count them the way she
yeah,
was.
desert doesn't look like that. It's like
Yeah,
a
look at those mountains. They're just like they're so ethereal.
Yeah.
And the mountain was also symbol of some kind of attainment, like, ascension.
Sure. Yeah.
Once she establishes her, I already talked about, she established her vocabulary in 25, and she does not stray from it. She didn't paint for other people. She didn't paint for the marketplace. In fact, to make money, she painted realistic portraits and desert paintings that she sold to tourists. The abstract work was the real work, and it was difficult for her to do. She would sometimes only be able to paint one day a week. It wasn't as if she would go into her studio and think, okay, today I'm going to have an inspiration. She had to wait for these inspirations to come, which is a much different way of working than a lot of people, like say most artists didn't wait. They just went to work. I don't know. Uh,
Well,
so
that was
fire sounds, um,
mm,
a lot of stuff about fire, and that's with Agni Yoga. And I don't,
oh,
that's what Agni is fire. Fire of space, psychic energy, love, thought, creativity, symbol, bird, messenger. The bird is the elixir of immortality. Just reading from my notes. They're so contemplative, you just kind of want to like look at it forever.
Yeah, that could be on an altar, right?
And an altar?
I said that image could live on an altar.
Yeah, exactly. And I was going to talk about that actually, that whole concept uh a little pretty soon here, I think. Um
Wow. Boy, that one really got me. It like opened up my crown chakra.
yeah,
It's really powerful for me.
yeah, I believe it. Like this was inspired by some reading she did of some book that was some theosophical book about the flames. Um,
Huh. Wow. It's like in a certain way, it's weird because in a certain way, I don't even appreciate it artistically that much. It just kind of zapped me or something.
well, yeah, they're in a sense that they're really objects of spiritual contemplation, and like you say, putting it on an altar to let it do its work on you.
Uh huh.
And this is what art has, historically, there's always been this strain of art that's about deep spirituality and putting it on your altar and bowing down to it or letting it work on you.
Uh huh. Huh.
And she's really bringing that back here
Wow.
in a modern sense, with a
Uh
modern
huh.
sensibility. And uh, it's really, I don't think many people were doing that. It's
Right.
really
Yeah.
was very unusual.
I
Um,
found a paragraph on what I was asking about,
Oh, good.
if anyone's interested. To
yeah,
achieve this goal, she labored long on her transcendental canvases, creating in her best paintings an unmatched depth of resonant, glowing color through delicate stippling or careful layers of thin glazes. Completing in an abstraction took weeks or months of meticulous labor. Returning to abstraction after a long period devoted to desert landscapes, Pelton wrote, "It was like painting with a moth's wing and with music instead of paint." While many modernists favored spontaneity and freedom of execution as a sign of authenticity, Pelton sought perfect realization of her mind's vision. She wrote that abstract art is not instantaneous. True originality lies in pushing farther in the organic direction. This obsessive, exacting attention to the quality of her images is what gives them their unique aura and unforgettable presence.
Huh.
thank you for that. That was really good.
I love the moth's wing and music instead of paint.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
This
God,
painting
this
was at
one.
the
What?
Sacramento show.
Oh
Oh,
yeah. Um,
wow.
I like the subtle color combinations. It's just incredible. Yeah, you can see how many colors she's got going on in there with all these layers. Um,
It's pretty amazing to see them on the screen like this too. You really captures the luminous glow with this, lit from behind light of seeing them on our computers.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
true.
She would have liked that.
Gosh, that's a really beautiful.
Isn't that so beautiful? I could just cry when I look at it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Here we are back to beauty. Why do we all feel like that is so beautiful?
Well, yeah, that exactly.
Right?
There is some kinds of beauty that are undeniable in a sense because they get at that um the shapes and forms just grab you.
And the color is penetrating like my heart. That
Yeah.
Yeah.
pink,
Yeah.
you
That
know.
little piece of blue water in front of the big object, it's,
Oh,
that
yeah.
color, that glacier, glacier melt
Yeah.
color. So
Of
amazing.
course, it is partly biased because I do love those colors. So,
And also in this one, like with the realistic birds there,
yeah.
and so that's like one plane, and then you have the sunset or sunrise, and
Oh,
then you have
yeah.
this whole other dimension there, and it's like all these different dimensions.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's kind of one thing I get from it is that she's kind of showing you the
Yeah.
multidimensional
Yeah.
reality.
And
Yeah.
the use of black and white without us thinking, oh, black and white. There's just,
Huh.
Yeah.
ugh.
Oh, yeah. Huh.
Oops. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is Mother of Silence was a very important painting for her. And we'll come back to it. But here she says, one symbol of how personal was to her was that she had one canvas that she called Mother of Silence, which is a Buddha-like figure enrobed in auratic colors. And she considered this to be actually a form of her mother that she could talk to and turn to for advice in times of distress. It was either her mother or the sense of the female spirit she was most attracted to occult literature written by women. Pelton felt that the painting itself had a living presence and that she would turn to it and ask its advice about what she should do with her art and with her life. She really felt it was a living icon for her.
Wow.
And that's what I was when I said, yeah, when you brought up the idea of the altar, this is what she had. This was on her altar.
Oh.
I mean, this was the image that she would talk to, that she would commune with. And that is totally a ancient form of art making,
Uh-huh.
you know. And she was bringing it back. When you look at like the gods and goddesses in India, and people have them in their homes. They have their little
Oh,
shrine
yeah.
room,
Yeah.
and they have those images on their altars, and they're there for a purpose. They're not just decoration.
Uh-huh.
And that's the thing. In secular art, everything's decoration. There is no deep spiritual connection.
Uh-huh.
And if there is, it's unusual.
There's some quotes here about what she used to ask Mother Florence. It's pretty funny. She said, I'm laughing because this is what we all do. Mother Florence seemed close as Mother of Silence was illuminated. This is Agnes's writing. Lovely presence emanating from it, strangely saying, don't worry, all is well, and in parentheses, delays of money.
Really funny.
Yeah, and just like the rest of us. Asking their mother, what should I do? I'm running out of money.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
So there's that painting. And then this is the last painting I think she did in like 1960. And that one too, that's one of the last ones.
Oh.
She once wrote, I feel somewhat like the keeper of a little lighthouse the beam of which goes farther than I know and illumines for others more than I can see.
Well, there we go. That's the question we were just asking. Like, did she know that she was doing that?
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah, she was kind
Mhm.
of lighting the way. So in this one, this rectangle symbolizes the doorway.
Yeah.
And you remember that Sylvia Plath said there was no doorway?
To the moon.
Well, yeah, like there's all the doors are closed, right? With Agnes, no, it's like the opposite in a weird way. Because she's like going on this whole totally different level.
Oh, yeah. Huh.
Oh,
Um, then there's the Venus star again, maybe. I mean, that's what they were saying was usually the star was Venus.
hmm.
Well, that's different.
Yeah, so this is the 35, and this would be something for the marketplace.
Oh,
Still pretty amazing.
yeah. What a good artist.
This is a new one I found. So it's interesting because, like, comparing it to Georgia O'Keeffe or other people, like another desert painter, she's got her own way of doing it.
Uh-huh.
They do appear very still for landscapes.
Yes. That that whole way that midnight blue blends into the black is just mind blowing.
So this
It's
one
like,
it says alchemy was a particularly complex composition that Pelton struggled to complete. She read Jung and agreed with his idea of that the alchemist was involved not simply in material change, but in spiritual transformation.
interesting.
Thus, the composition also features a golden bowl, a reference to the alchemist's quest to turn base matter into spiritual riches. In astrology, Pluto, god of the underworld, represents forces of destruction, but also change, renewal, and rebirth. Pelton probably, I'm saying this is probably because this is somebody's opinion, painted this image in the hope it would bring a much needed shift in her life's fortunes.
And flowing with these
Hmm.
soft curves everywhere. And
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
it's like it's liquidating our minds.
Huh. Wow.
She did believe, like Kandinsky, that, artists were kind of showing the way to the future of a higher spiritual reality.
Wow. Huh.
A theosophical quote she had underlined in her notebook: spiritual transactions must be translated into the language of mortal senses. So the blessed, her nieces and nephews that went at her funeral, they had this painting displayed. She didn't, it said she didn't have any lifelong partner. I didn't read anything about her love life, if she even had one. Um,
The bottom to me looks kind of like a mountain or a hillside, and then with either a river
Oh,
or a path going off to the left.
Yeah,
yeah, huh.
yeah. And that's so cool that she did that.
Yeah, and that which opens up into that sky,
Yeah,
if you will,
it
or
opens right up into it.
yeah,
Oh,
it's really cool.
huh.
So this was her, I think she called it her war painting, 1943, and she was, this is about as political as she's going to get. But I think these uh, gears symbolize the machine and the dominance of the machine.
Uh-huh.
And then this is maybe hard to make that out, but
Mhm.
maybe like the destruction that of this worldview, this kind of weird lime yellow. It's not it's not very earthy, to say the least. It's
That's
interesting. She calls it prelude.
yeah.
Maybe it's prelude to some rebirth. Um, yeah, I think this was one of the last ones, but she lived till 63. Uh, no, 61. She was 80 years old and 61.
Mm.
Yeah, oh my God, all that line work.
Oh, yeah.
Can imagine how long that took.
Right.
Oh
And
my,
that's when she was older, she did that one?
well, she's 40, in 47, she was 67.
Uh-huh.
Even that background must have taken a long time.
Oh yeah.
Try to get into her head what it was like to paint so slowly and carefully and meticulously.
This is 52, strange one. But she did a number of these weird desert landscapes with the weird colors. And she's kind of bringing the two worlds together now,
Mm-hmm.
in a different way.
Uh,
Wow, she's really, look at that face.
Uh-huh.
She just seems like she's just all blissed out.
it's true, huh?
Well, she seems like a lot of depth to me.
Yeah, like wisdom, depth,
Wisdom, yeah.
like contentment, like, you know,
Yeah,
wow.
very peaceful.